Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And Jacob Wild.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we find ourselves in the midst of Disney's big venture into the world of streaming, even courting a war in the process, we thought it would be nice to stay up to date on the ever-growing catalog and rule on what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. And tonight, folks, we are talking about The Mandalorian, the Season 3 finale, Chapter 24, The Return. Yeah. All right. I'm going to go ahead and go first on this one, guys. Throughout the season when I have been on, I think I've been on about half of these episodes, maybe a little less than half. No, I think about half, actually. If I do the math on it, I was on for the premiere. I was on for the kind of like the side quest kind of episode with Bo-Katan rescuing the young Mandalorian. And then the Lizzo Jack Black episode, of course, and now this one. So I've been on for half of them. And I've really been trying to keep a positive attitude. And last episode, episode 7, I mean, holy God, that might have been one of the best episodes in the whole series throughout all 3 seasons. Like, they really knocked that one out of the park. So, like, I want to emphasize, like, I really haven't hated this season. I really haven't. I've quite liked some elements of it. Specifically the Bo-Katan stuff. And frankly, I'm going to get it out of the way right now, man. Like, if you're one of those people who is saying, like, oh, Mando bent the knee to Bo-Katan, oh, it's woke. I don't know. I don't want to, like, discourage the audience, but kindly fuck off with that nonsense.
Bent a knee? Are people really saying bent a knee?
Yeah, Dragon, it's ridiculous. People will say anything on YouTube now for, like, anti-woke points. It's great.
No, I guess I was more semantically. Is that really the way was that how we're saying it now? Just like bent a knee?
I guess. Because apparently Bo-Katan, like, inspiring Mando is, like, a big, like, SJW woke thing.
Technically, Bo-Katan did bend the knee. When she did, she had, like, the awesome rockets fired from the Boba Fett has.
So, like, everyone who has been criticizing this season for, like, like, oh, Bo-Katan has ruined the show. She's come in and stolen the show from Din Djarin. Like, frankly, I don't understand that at all. Like, I think Bo-Katan has pretty consistently, for me, been the most interesting element of this season. And so this season finale, it was good. It wasn't great, and I do have a lot of, like, little nitpicks about it. In some ways, it feels very video game-y, where it's just like, okay, you have to fight the final boss, and then you have to fight the final boss in his second form, and then as a reward, you get a cabin. That's essentially a save point for your new adventures. I don't know.
Tiki, what do you have against real estate?
I like the ending. I like the ending. We'll get to the ending. I'm just saying the way that we got there was a little bit. And I will say, like, I don't know what the hell they're thinking with the Darksaber. Like, that's we'll side that conversation for when we get to it. I don't know if there's something I'm missing from the Filoni verse when it comes to the Darksaber, but man, that thing just, like, it got built up literally the whole series only for it to just literally amount to nothing. But overall, it was an okay episode. Like, probably in the top half of the episodes of the season, but I don't necessarily think this went out on a super strong note. A lot of the stuff with Moff Gideon, I have questions. I don't know. So what are you guys thinking about this episode?
All right, I'll go. God. Anyway, yeah, so I
didn't say anything.
I know, it's my point. Okay. So, all right. So I thought this was a solid finale. It's no season 2, but to be fair, I mean, season 2 ended with Luke Skywalker. It's kind of hard to top that, let's be honest. But again, I felt this was a fulfilling finale. Had great action, had big moments, but again, just compared to the previous two, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to top, but we did really. I didn't feel generic to me. I like that. I think there was enough that it was enough like we were paired up with the previous episode led into it. So I think kind of part one really stole a lot of the thunder of the finale. But even so, we had a lot of really cool stuff thrown at us, and we did kind of bring it back to kind of like going full circle. A lot of stuff we've been kind of building since season one. I it sounds like we're doing a season 4. I mean, there's definitely open ended enough here. It's a question of are we gonna? It sounds like we're doing season 4, but then they threw this movie news at us. So with that in mind, it could just be this is where we're gonna leave them until we check back in with Din Djarin and Grogu and the big crossover movie between all the Filoniverse.
Yeah, that's what the plan for the movie is, right? Basically, like one big Filoniverse endgame sort of thing.
That's what Rohit confirmed for us, and beyond that, it was just a question of if we're going to do a 4 or not. Which that I think is up in the air. If there's going to be a 4 coming out,
I think that's really up in the air right now, given the overall response to this season.
I think the so far what we know is that Jon Favreau has been planning a 4, but it's unclear if those 4 plans took shape in the form of the movie. So I don't know. Regardless. So I mean, overall, I'm feeling this. I did like some of our stuff. I do question one of the things that Tiki brought up in terms of like, yeah, we made a choice. I think it's defensible enough, but it's still there was a lot of build up around the Darksaber, but we'll get to that. I have a few dialogue quibbles in this one, but overall though it does feel like we went kind of big when we in the retaking of Mandalore. I feel in the grand scheme of things here, if someone were like to binge all the Filoni stuff, I think us going back to Mandalore and doing what we did here in this finale was a big deal, and it was kind of a redemptive sort of thing for like the fall of Mandalore, the kind of the reclaiming of Mandalore. So I really like that aspect of the episode, how all that panned out and kind of played out. So that was cool. It does kind of raise the retroactive question of, man, Moff Gideon's really cool here. It's a shame we were never able, because he was like an idea for this show. We can't really go back in time and say, hey, look, Moff Gideon, unless we do one of those Tales of the Jedi shows, But again, it's more Tales of the Mandalorians than there's Tales of Jedi on that one. So, Okay, anyway, so I'm feeling it. I do question the term "the return" because we don't quite have returns in this episode, at least in the big sense. It's kind of Return to Navarro, I guess.
Unless they also count the return to Mandalore.
Yeah, that's what I was reading it as.
I mean,
I don't think that it's that much of a stretch.
I guess that's it's what I'm actually thinking. I'm thinking just when we were searching for episode images here, title card images. It was just like we don't really have anything really sells the return that much. I don't know. It has a little bit of everyone in there. It's about the quest. It's basically we're getting to the return. I guess the closest we have is the Forge thing at the end. So, but and in general, you're right though. We do return the Mandalore. It's not the first time we return the Mandalore, but we've officially returned by the end everyone to Mandalore. So I guess you're right.
Well, this is the image we chose is basically the closest we get to a return.
Yeah.
Well, technically, there's some other characters do return too. So there's that.
I really love how we get a Hux name drop in the episode that's literally called The Spy.
Yep. The Hux name drop. You know who that was, don't you?
Wait, what?
Hux's dad. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I know that was Hux's dad. Yeah, but I'm saying that's not The Spy.
Right.
Anyways.
All right.
Okay, so honestly, guys, like,
hey,
sorry. Oh, Jacob, right. Go ahead.
Hey, this is why we should sandwich the other way. Go on.
What do you mean the other way? Like, what do I do? Like, usually you guys go first.
All right, go on. What do you got?
All right, but I enjoyed it. Like I said, it's probably not the best of the season finales. Like as you guys have mentioned, I mean, season 2 probably still had the best finale, considering how definitely the ending scene alone is definitely just more quaint here than it is in season 2. But I guess we'll get to that. I kind of enjoyed like the story beats and everything. How every character had a chance to shine in this episode. I do, and basically it was a lot of fun, and I do agree that some of the choices made do seem questionable. Some things probably could have been explained more, though they might be explained more in the fourth season if we get one, or in the movie. I don't know. So I guess we'll find out. And I said, but if this is the last, but I doubt this is the last we ever see of Mando and Grogu. But if it does turn out to be the last we see him, I think it ended in a good spot for them.
Yep. All right, Tiki, what do you got?
Yeah, so like honestly, right off the bat with this episode, I don't know, like this. First of all, I think this is like by far the shortest finale, right?
I think you're right.
It's like not including credits. This thing is like just a hair over half an hour.
It's like 40 minutes.
Yeah, more.
Well, it's 40 minutes including credits and everything.
Yeah, like there's no post-credit scene on this, right?
Right.
It's a little on the short side compared to the other two, which are closer to an hour. I think the first season had like an hour finale, and this season.
I honestly think they maybe could have just, I don't know, maybe given us one more episode to build up the Mandalore kind of like, coming together and the conflict of that, like the different factions and stuff. And then had basically like this episode plus the end of last episode as the finale. Like maybe start this episode with Paz Vizsla's sacrifice.
I mean, maybe, but it's kind of like like the first season where we kind of kill off Queel in the penultimate, and then we kind of kill off a beloved character in the penultimate.
And the season finale of season 1 is listed.
How dare you imply that IG-11 is a less beloved character than Queel?
Well,
I like Queel, but
I mean a character that we kill off penultimately. He gets killed off ultimately.
Sure.
Yeah, IG-11 got killed off in the final episode.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, though, Jacob. What I'm trying to say is this episode it had some dragon. I don't know. You know me. It had some cool fight stuff for sure. It did. Probably
they did one of my favorite fights in Star Wars, though.
It probably had. I will say this: it probably had the best action set pieces for Grogu. I really liked him, kind of like running around that kind of catwalk style thing. I will say, when all is said and done, the IG-11 body kind of felt maybe a little bit like it was fun while it lasted, but I don't quite understand. Like, it really didn't feel like it amounted to a whole lot in the end.
What? So you're saying you wish you killed a bunch of people?
No, I'm just saying, like, I wish that there would have been more of a plot-relevant reason for it to exist.
Oh, there's a plot-relevant reason for it to save Din Djarin's bacon in that one scene.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, there you go, plot reason served.
I don't know, just... And let me be clear, the action is really good. Like, it is. Let's talk about one thing here that was kind of a head-scratcher that's kind of dividing folks. What do y'all think of the ultimate reveal of Moff Gideon's clone army?
So here's the thing. I don't know how people feel about this, but I really like the Gideon reveal because we teased up that he's been dabbling. He lied about the whole clone thing with the whole Pershing, what he had done to Pershing and everything. And we know he mentioned he's been looking into the cloners, basically replicating Jedi stuff, which is why he kidnapped Grogu in the first place. And basically he's appropriating all the cultures and all like the cool things from Star Wars. But the reason we got in this episode, which I thought was a really good reason, the idea that at the end of the day, Gideon, he's got Sith envy, man. He loves Darth Maul. Essentially, that's kind of our big point here. He loves the idea of
he's ultimately how I kind of read it, and I don't know if this is supposed to be a read or not, but I kind of felt a little bit of a shade of Kylo Ren, a little bit. Where it's just like he wants to be this great Sith Lord, but he can't be, and he's fucking petty about it.
Well, that's the thing. So that's what's really cool about this Gideon thing. So we kind of got an answer to why he did everything that he does here. My logic is that, again, per the Filoni stuff, all the expanded stuff we got in the animation with Darth Maul is that everything that happened after he got cut in half, where he got a lot more interesting through all the Clone Wars stuff, is that Darth Maul essentially was a Renaissance man. He went through a lot of stuff when he came back, and the idea is that he's following in the footsteps of Darth Maul. Like, he was a ruler of Mandalore. He wielded the Darksaber. I want to wield the Darksaber for a bit, and I want to wear the Darth Maul. I want to be able to. I want to be a Jedi, essentially, aka a Sith, being all evil and bad and stuff. And I like the Mandalorians' weapons and how cool fighters they are. And, why not throw some clones in there? And basically, it's the fact that his ego is just so out of check. He wants to be the ultimate, the ultimate force in the galaxy. He wants to basically be his own empire of sorts. That's why he's cloning himself. Yeah,
the ultimate force in the galaxy.
Ultimate force in the galaxy. So it's just really, it's just a really. I think it's a cool idea. It's just his ego's gone completely crazy and power mad. He basically wants to be all the Star Wars. I think that's really interesting.
Basically, he wants to create an army of clones of himself that are strong with the Force.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of, definitely an ego and definitely a bit of a narcissist in that one. Like,
it's a plan that on one level makes sense in terms of having like the ultimate soldier that can't be beaten by an errant blaster, in Star Wars, and it's an amalgam of all the cool hallmarks of Star Wars, but again, a guy just making it all about himself, literally.
The one thing Dragon, I agree with everything you're saying as far as like conceptually and thematically, it was all really cool. The one thing is, I do think we kind of disposed of the clone army a little too easily.
Okay, you're not wrong about that, especially after we did that. It didn't make any sense, but it was cool. Just like when the one Giancarlo was in the one Moff Gideon is in the cloning chamber and his eyes pop open.
Oh,
does it make any sense? I mean, not particularly. Yeah, it's cool. And then we kill him all. We needed a reason for Moff Gideon to be ticked off, and it sounds. Here's the real question. Okay, if we're actually gonna, because we're doing that Star Wars thing again, where it's like every time we think we kill off somebody, we don't actually kill them off. However, this is much more traditional than the ridiculous. Like, wait a minute, she was stabbed through the side, like with the lightsaber. That doesn't make any sense.
Right,
then again,
right.
It was the same universe in which Darth Maul was literally cut in half, and he survived, and he did a bunch of cool stuff. So I don't know. Star Wars had this problem for a long time, but this is like it's gotten a little too wall to wall these days. But it's a question if we're going to see Moff Gideon come back. That's why we killed off the clone, just to maybe give the impression that, okay, he's really not coming back. We're not going to bring back a clone or anything.
Dragon, I doubt he's coming back at this point, man. The man basically got holdoed.
That's what I'm saying. So it's kind of if you're going to kill off a character in Star Wars, that's a pretty cool way to do it.
It was a badass death. I'm not going to lie. That was
crashed the whole
as soon as I saw like the crash was like headed towards the base, I was like, "Oh shit! They're pulling a holdo. They're pulling a holdo."
And again, his undoing. I love that Grogu is always his undoing here because he kidnapped that baby, and that baby's wields the Force. He doesn't, so he's a goner. Yeah.
And
also, the explosion takes Giancarlo out. That's another runner too.
And of course, Grogu using the shield to protect himself from the blast.
Yep, a little callback to the first season.
So, should we talk about the Darksaber?
I mean, we can. You want to talk about it?
I mean, there's not really a ton to talk about, unfortunately.
Well, the big thing about it is that the Darksaber gets destroyed.
Like that shot of Bo leaping into battle, with all the Mandalorians and like her wielding it, fucking super cool. Honestly, one of the coolest shots in the entire show, probably. And then, like, literally, we basically do nothing with it.
Well, it's not. Well,
I mean, I had to watch the episode. I had to watch the scene several times, and I still don't really understand what Moff Gideon even does to the thing. He basically like crushes it with his hand or something, right?
Yeah. So Gideon. So just to refresh again, Gideon, what he's got in his corner right now, he's got a Beskar suit, but also I think just to have an air of the Dark Troopers from season 2. I think he's like it's kind of mechanized. It has like a mech thing, so it gave him enhanced strength, and you can hear like the servos when he moves. But yeah, so regardless, you're right, Tiki. He's just like either with that Imperial weapon that he had, or just with his hands, he destroyed the Darksaber. Now, here's the thing, because again, his armor and everything's Beskar, so technically it's like
I get what they're trying to do here. Like yeah. I get the whole thing of like, like, oh, you Mandalorians are nothing without your trinkets. Like, I totally understand that. I totally get that as like, you know, like a dramatic plot point. My whole thing is like the Darksaber, just, you know, you build it up in. If it wasn't built up so much in the season 2 finale, I don't think I would have so much like hard feelings about how it was ultimately, because ultimately with the Darksaber, it's like I was disappointed on how it got to Bo-Katan just because we didn't have any sort of duel, and it was kind of just like after the fact, like, oh yeah, by the way, this happened and she technically saved me, so here. And then I'm also disappointed with how it's literally disposable. It's like a fucking weapon in Breath of the Wild. It broke.
Okay, well, let me tell you what bothers me more about the Darksaber. Less what happened with it, more it's more the fact that I don't mind its destruction, because again, essentially, it's the message of, you know, we don't, your whole culture isn't like ruled by this already, as you said, Tate. The whole Mandalorian culture, weapons are kind of key to their lifestyle, it's part of their religion, and specifically the Darksaber is big and representative. Whoever wields it gets to rule Mandalore. It's the fact that, like, no, we don't need to live by the old traditions anymore. That's the whole reason it gets destroyed. But here's the issue: we don't talk about it. It just happens, and no one brings it up.
Right.
See, that's the problem. That's my main issue with this finale, is that we have big shifts in the Mandalorian ideology, which are really important, but we have they're too subtly in there. It's like, okay, Darksaber's destroyed, it's kind of a big moment, but no one talks about it. And later on, Ragnar, Paz Vizsla's kid, you know, the Jon Favreau character's kid, who we saved, and we kind of said we go full circle. Like, we started with him getting the makeshift baptism during taking the creed.
Can I just say, in retrospect, like now that the season is over, the episode where we save him is honestly probably one of the stronger episodes of the season. Like, specifically because it was just a nice standalone story that really got into the Mandalorian subculture.
Yeah, it was great. So the big problem here is that I think a lot of people have been reading into this, and I think correctly, but we don't really talk about it, is the fact that the armor took out the part of ceremony where it's like you can never remove your helmet. So it sounds like we made a major shift, but it has to be speculated. Where are we allowed to take our helmets off now?
Wait, okay, hold on. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to, like, how is that not a thing now?
Okay, well, that's a thing. So when she did the ceremony on Mandalore at the end to the kid, like she did at the beginning, but now she's doing the actual living waters in the mines of Mandalore.
Yeah.
She went through the ceremony. At no point in that ceremony, again, it's a little subtle, which is my problem with it, she did not say, and you promise never to remove your helmet.
Oh yeah.
So that's the thing.
I mean, if that is the case, then you're right. That's a little too subtle.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that's kind of a major deal. And I mean, I know we did say it a couple of episodes back. That was with Bo-Katan, though. She was a special case. We didn't really say
this is the only season that Pedro Pascal did not take his helmet off.
Yeah, so it is a question. Do we like are we reading into that? Like, did we just skip over the line? Is it intentionally?
That's a really good call, Dragon. I hate to say this, I really do, because I really don't think this is giving the writers enough credit. But part of me just thinks that they really did just skip over the line.
I'm thinking it's intentional, but you know what? If it's intentional, part of me wonders how much of it is like it's the next guy's problem. It's not our problem right now. How much of it you think things like, okay, well, we don't. Okay, essentially, we want him to be able to take off the helmet, but we don't want to make that call, so we're just going to figure it out when we do the next season or whatever. Because I mean,
Pedro is probably at a point where, like, he is not going to want to do the show at all unless he can take the damn helmet off.
Do you think that was left vague because of the Pascal?
I mean, I honestly, Dragon, now that we're talking about it, yeah, I think that might be one of the reasons.
Because they're afraid, like, if Pascal is...
It's like, because they saw how fucking big The Last of Us blew up, man. And The Last of Us, that was all FaceTime with Pedro Pascal, man. That was all Pedro all the time.
I gotta be honest, I'm hearing both sides. When I hear this whole Pedro Pascal issue, I'm kind of seeing, like, glass half full, glass half empty on it, where it's like, okay, Pedro, you're basically getting paid for voice work, and you're getting all the glory, and you don't even have to be on set.
More or less, yeah.
On the flip side of it, okay, well, you want your face shown more. Well, then I don't know, get in there and maybe say, hey, take the helmets off now. Just be on set.
Right.
Like, don't complain about it. Just like take a path. Either way, you
I
win.
mean, the fact that he was only doing voice work and not actually, committing to being in the suit.
Yeah.
I don't know. That does tell you, like, maybe that's why the writers never did commit to giving him a scene without the helmet.
That's what I'm saying. I can't tell what he wants here. Like okay.
It had more to do with the fact that they were basically filmed simultaneously.
Yeah, I mean you're right, Jacob.
I mean you're absolutely right there, Jacob. The filming schedule was tricky for sure.
I just don't get why we can't just say definitively that's purely the reason why, or it's like why is all this speculation? Is Pedro ticked off at the
Well, Dragon, I mean, to be fair, it is Hollywood nerd culture movie news, so just drama is kind of just a big. I mean, I don't know. That's
drama or no drama.
Like with the whole stupid thing about taking the knee. It's like all these people are constantly trying to look into drama when there's not drama.
Regardless, drama or no drama, it does stand the reason that maybe there's a possibility we kept things vague because we were not able to have him remove his helmet this season.
Right.
Very end, like we can't have him just like taking the helmet off like around the kid when he's at home because like we don't know what stance we want to take and we don't have Pedro on set. So and plus we don't know if The Last of Us is a very popular game. We don't know if it's going to take off and get like another season. So we're going to have to figure something out.
Although I don't know, Jacob, there's something about The Last of Us that you probably know that I don't necessarily want to tease, but it makes Pedro Pascal's role in that show kind of interesting. Anyways, that's as much as I'll say about that.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that could make his role interesting.
You know what I'm talking about, Jacob.
No, I don't. Not specifically.
Anyone up for a game of golf?
Oh, the second game, right.
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, all right, so the back pedal a little bit, Jacob.
Dragon has no idea what I'm talking about with the golf thing.
Right, Jacob, do you want to backpedal and talk about anything from the episode you really liked?
Like mainly the ending. I really liked it when it's like specifically like the words and body language when Mando officially adopted Grogu as his son, and then Yammer's like, "This is the way."
Yeah, I really like that. That was definitely a nice gesture. I will say the stuff on Navarro, nice, but it literally felt like a rushed video game cutscene to me.
Really, it felt like a cutscene.
It didn't.
just the whole thing of like, Mando, we thank you for your service, and in return, we're going to get. I don't know, like.
Grief Karga's his friend, man. Let him have a nice.
I'm caught off on the fact that like I'm caught up in the fact that like as nice as the cabin is, like as a gesture, it totally feels like a video game thing of like, here, Mando, have this save spot. In our city, so that way you can. I don't know,
because that is totally something that video games invented.
Jacob, I totally hear you. Like I know it's a nitpick. It's just something that was in my mind both times I watched the episode.
Basically, it's the nittest of picks.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely not wrong.
They set this up since the beginning of the season, practically. You know, just
okay,
like, hey,
I do think that IG-11 just randomly coming back. I don't know. That was a little weird.
I mean, here's you're not wrong.
I can't say that they didn't set it up, but it just felt a little bit like.
I mean, come on. Of all the deaths to be reversed, that would at least make sense since he's a
no, Jake. Absolutely, it makes sense for sure. I'm just saying, like, it's a weird little like. It's almost like a footnote in the episode. It's like, oh, an IG-11's back. Hey, all right. Here's with that.
Here's the issue. Again, it's like a read-in sort of thing where it's like there are a lot of questions that come about. It's not that we can't do it. It's just a question of, I think it's a part of me thinks the idea is it's kind of going with the whole the IGs come in pairs. So technically he's IG-12 now, but because again, it's not supposed. I think it's not supposed to be the same droid because he was destroyed and he was left on. I mean, I guess. Given how destroyed Mandalore was by that, the base was, by that, by kind of the kamikaze Holdo-ish move. Which, by the way, is even better than the Holdo thing. Not that the Holdo thing wasn't like the one good moment of Holdo in that movie, but my point is...
Although I definitely agree with your assessment that it should have been Akbar in there.
Yeah. Anyway, though,
that would have made the Holdo maneuver an all-time classic scene.
But it's also a double reference. I mean, Holdo obviously with the destructive kind of kamikaze-esque kind of thing, but X-Wolves pulling that dive bomb move actually was from the episode X-Wolves was introduced in Mando. It was from the big Titus Welliver thing. Titus Welliver's trying to crash the ship in a kamikaze, and they stopped and they grabbed the ship. So it's like, what if we didn't stop that? So
I want to loop back around to one thing just because I thought it was like really sweet and heartwarming.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry. I just want to address it really quick. The scene with R5 and the shields.
Oh yeah, so the shield scene in itself was really great.
It was really good. Yeah, it was really good. And obviously it kind of you get a little bit of the Duel of Fates vibe there.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, you know what I really liked about just a lot of the action and just kind of the tone of the episode? It feels kind of like a combination of, you could say Star Wars in general with the way we do kind of a lot of the climaxes, but particularly feels like Phantom Menace spliced in with New Hope.
I love the mouse droids just giving R5 grief.
I love the fucking mouse droids, dude. Oh my god. Honestly, those mouse droids like teaming up against a bigger droid is one of those like Star Wars things that I've always wanted to see. Just randomly, it's been on my Star Wars wish list. So that scene alone was probably the biggest fan service, maybe in the whole season for me. Weirdly enough, and then I don't know. There's just something so simple but wholesome and sweet about Mando. Just this whole time he's stressing out like R5, the shield, R5, and then at the end of it he's like, R5.
Thank you.
Nice job, buddy.
So, a couple things. Okay, one, the buddy thing is really endearing. That now he's extra.
It's like a Patrick Warburton, nice work, pal. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Nice work, pal.
Nice work, pal.
Right, so already,
it's the thumbs up from Poppy.
So yeah,
oh god, now I just want to see like a fucking Patrick Warburton from Soarin' Over California trying to get a thumbs up from his Poppy.
Even better, I want that Patrick Warburton droid from
oh god!
Just him going around and just like randomly walking in the sea. It's like, hey, good work, buddy.
Nice work, pal.
Nice work, pal. Okay, so a few things. So again, in general,
that droid basically has the voice of Devil Kronk.
Yep.
Go ahead. All
right, so regardless, again, I like how we kind of, with our climax, that we're kind of intercutting between things. It feels, especially given we do that in homage to the awesome Duel of Fates moment, it feels like Phantom Menace crossed with the New Hope in terms of like how we're kind of doing things in kind of a practical action sense, but we're not just like throwing like CG armies there, but we are having like, I know it was like, I know obviously accomplished through CG, but I do, it feels very practical, at the very least tactile.
There are a lot of practical stuff in this episode, Dragon. You're absolutely right about that. That is one of the things I really liked about it.
So I mean, even when we have like the Beskar troopers that are, the Beskar dark troopers that are flying around, it looks, I mean, that fight, it's not just like throwing CG at each other. It's like we're with the characters that are in our Mandos are in the air going up against these guys, and it feels like we're actually charging in the army. So all that's great. And meanwhile, again, we have like this great Duel of the Fates homage where Din Djarin, one of the best things, a lot of people were like apparently worried about this, and that really surprised in a really good way, that everyone was worried that yet again, now this is a problem in the first place, the fact that admittedly it may have happened a couple times this season. Bo-Katan would have bailed Din Djarin out of his current dilemma, but instead we did an even better thing, where Din Djarin, we show how resourceful and a great fighter that Din Djarin is, where he takes these guys out, and then Grogu helps save his bacon in the IG-11 suit. So that's great, and I love the cute little callback to. That's what I'm saying. This makes me think we don't necessarily need a season 4. Instead, we should probably go to the movie.
I really don't think we need a season 4. They have it set up so that we technically could, because it's like, oh, Grogu, you have to go on your Mandalorian adventures or whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just the fact that I like we're closing the loop on so many things that we set up since the first season here. Again with Gideon, with like little back to spray, like when he's like spraying little stuff on him, and he's like how IG-11 helped his head when he took the helmet off. Yeah. But you're right, though. Because we're closing the loop on so many things, and we're paying everything off, and we kind of have very much a full circle ending, ultimately, going to Navarro and everything, it just feels that, we don't necessarily need 4 aside from just more adventures until we get to the movie. We're probably going to close the loop on everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I basically said what I did at the beginning. If we don't see any more of the Grogu and Mando outside of the movie, this is a good spot for them to end up.
Yeah. Anyway, so again, Din without weapons, like basically taking on each of these Beskar troopers behind these shields, and R5's kind of a part of the scene, and he's going to help him take him down. It's a really great idea to see him kind of gain all these weapons as he's going through. I mean, it's video gaming in the best sense possible.
Totally.
I mean, that part was like just showed like that's why you don't back up a Mandalorian into a corner.
Oh yeah. Yep. So that's
especially the Mandalorian.
Absolutely. So let's see. Also, just our rematches in general. Like we had 2 big rematches that happened. We had Gideon versus Mando, and the whole exosuit advantage. And he's also again just going full fanboy for Darth Maul. He's got like the 2-sided like Imperial weapon.
Right. I'm telling you, he's like the more calm and composed version of Kylo Ren with the fanboy shit.
Sure. I mean, the other cool thing about Gideon too is that it's kind of like foundling versus aspiring foundling when you look at their dynamic. Because Gideon would have loved to have been found by the Jedi.
Oh yeah.
Where Din Djarin, of course, he himself is a foundling, much like Grogu and everything. So that's kind of his story. He's adopted by the one of the great cultures of the galaxy in Star Wars, where Gideon is always a guy who's just like he's basically starting his own band. So we have a cool battle, and then that leads to the rematch with Bo-Katan, which is like the redemptive rematch. It's like this is the big Darksaber battle, essentially. Like, hey, I came to you and I destroyed your plan when I offered you salvation. If you're in terms of your surrender, then she the whole double cross, and then she's getting her big, she's getting her licks in until obviously the Darksaber breaks, which I'm sure a lot of people are still not crazy about. Yeah. Let's talk about Tiki, you mentioned this a little bit earlier. Grogu versus the Praetorian Guards, but the Crayolas.
Of course, affectionately known as the Crayolas dragon. Yeah.
I know they're Praetorians.
No, Dragon. I'm not even giving you a hard time. I would not call them anything but the Crayolas.
Of course, the reason I call them occasionally was why the heck is they call them Crayolas? I call them Crayolas because
it makes total sense to me.
There's an excellent joke in Robot Chickens. In one of the Robot Chicken Star Wars specials, I forget if it's the first one or not, where it might have been the second, where the Emperor, voiced by Seth MacFarlane, is having like the worst welcome to the second Death Star, which is like an incomplete mall or like an incomplete like attraction. He's just walking in there, and he has like an air vent right over his seat, and he says, "Hey, you Crayola, get over here! Use your long staff to fix the AC."
Oh, God.
Anyway, so let's see. Of course, as we mentioned, Grogu saves Mando and Bo-Katan from fire. Nice little season 1 nod, and we do the bet again. And how do you guys feel about Din Grogu?
I like it. I like it personally.
I mean, I kind of see it's kind of interesting to reveal that like Din isn't actually his first name, but like
I culturally I really thought that was interesting.
Like how it's like a marker for foundlings, like who weren't of Mandalorian heritage.
Guys, I gotta be honest. I'd like to think you're right. I would. I do. However, I mean, again, I can't say it's most. I read some article somewhere once that it sounds like that might have been a mistake that they just didn't. Either a mistake or kind of an odd choice because it does. I don't know. Maybe he's looking at it on face value. It just feels like we should have called him Grogu Djarin, Grogu Djarin instead of Din Grogu, because I mean I don't know, we keep saying Din Djarin through the whole thing. I mean, I like to think you're right, and that's the logic behind. I'm going to assume that's why it's there. But just given the fact that we have like Paz Vizsla and all these Vizslas, so Vizsla is the last name, and
right,
Katan Kreese, so it just feels like I want you to be right, but it feels like a mistake. I'm just saying, given the fact that all the other Mandos, what?
I said I think it just kind of comes down to a cultural thing.
I mean, I think the only logic is like maybe it's like a Children of the Watch thing within the two splintering cultures, where Paz Vizsla did come from the Bo-Katan section.
That's what I'm saying, Dragon. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Well,
I read that it was more like it was like seen as like something from like an adoptive Mandalorian kind of thing, like how
Right, yeah.
well, I'm gonna assume you guys are right on that.
Again, like it's not really explained why that is the way it is.
Well, in other words, that is the way.
That is the way.
Nice.
But I still really love the way when this is like how he decides to officially adopt Grogu as his son.
Yeah,
which is nice. Which was so nice. I was like, finally.
Part of me was wondering, and again, this is something we kind of predicted early in the season. We again, it's ambiguous, but we kind of got an answer to it. The whole thing. Wait a minute. Wait. I know we're waiting for the kid to speak is kind of our BS excuse, but are we going to put a little helmet on that little guy? Or are we going to do that at the end of the season?
You know I want that.
I know you want that, but here's the thing. So, is that helmet thing at the end, the fact that we didn't put that in the cream or the excuse to say, oh, yeah, he's a Mando now. We just can't, we don't have to give him a helmet because we're worried how the logistics of the helmet on the little guy would be. At least while he's a baby, because we're going to have to keep making the helmet over again. They're going to have to keep making Beskar helmets over and over again as he grows up.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so back to the IG 11 points. So we make him a marshal. We set up probably for the big crossover movie, most likely. And I guess in general, if we do a season 4. But primarily, Mando is going to be a bounty hunter for the New Republic, an off the book sort of thing. So he's not answering to a boss, but he's just basically he's bounty hunting the bad guys.
I like that idea.
I like that idea too. I really do. And the idea, yeah.
I just love how he felt like that since he's apparently a father now, a legitimate father now, he needed like more reputable work.
Right.
Wait, did you just say legitimate father?
Basically.
Tiki. One could say he's
Din Djarin's not a biological father. God.
I really thought you were going to go with the whole proud of your boy moment.
Well, another way of looking at things, Tiki, is he's...
Although I am sure that Din Djarin is...
proud of his boy.
Where does that biological father?
That's
Jacob. It's something from a Red Letter Media Rogue One sketch.
Okay.
Anyway, so the point
it's referring to like they're like geeking out about Bail Organa being in Rogue One. Yeah, Bail Oregano. Yes. He's Princess Leia's non-biological father.
Non-biological father.
Yeah.
Just sounds funny the way he said it. So every time we have the rare times we have the opportunity to go with non-biological father, kind of,
Well, I mean, well, in this case, Mando is Grogu's non-biological father.
There you go.
Welcome to the club, buddy. Who's our little R5 in the room? Is it Jacob? Yes, it is. Okay. All right. So, IG-11. So we kind of do this. Mando gets some payment up front, which is the IG head, which is a cute little moment. It's not him. It's not him and Grogu. It's not your friend. So that does bring about the question, which I think is another writing thing where it just feels like this is where we kind of cheaped out on the runtime in terms of like, we don't have time. Even if they did, it would have been a lot of exposition, so I get why they didn't do it. But still, it does raise the question of like, so we couldn't restore the original IG, so we just basically have another IG that sounds like Taika Waititi. And I think the idea is, traditionally the IGs, if I recall, come in pairs. Maybe threes, but I think it's pairs. So I think the idea is like, okay, this is the other in the pair of IGs. This is IG-12, where we had IG-11. This is an IG-12, even though how the heck is it going to be connected in this vast array of
Dragon, I'm not going to lie to you, man. Like, I'm kind of like being like, all right, sure, if that's what you say, in kind of the same way that you're skeptical about like the Din Grogu thing.
Well, I'm just saying the big point at the end of the day here is the fact that, okay, we just have AIG in tribute to IG-11. That's the main point here. It just feels, I don't know, it's a nice homage to him. We found a way to rebuild him, even though it's not the same guy. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of the...
To me, it just really felt like, hey, look, we got Taika back. He's in the recording studio for a couple hours.
Well, to be fair, we have had him in two other episodes already. Well, this episode and the previous episode just
He
saying
wasn't
yes,
in
yes.
the recording studio, though, Dragon.
Well, he had to say yes and no at least once.
I'm guessing those were just reused lines.
Well, I guess that's fair, but he's still getting the checks, though.
All right. Anyways,
he's still getting the checks.
The poster for his soccer movie actually just came out. It looks really good. Anyway,
so let's see. Yeah. So again, at the end of the day, we made good on Grief Karga's promise, and Mando, he's got a little place. He's got a nice little place to raise the baby at.
Yeah, to raise his 50-year-old man baby who's probably older than he is.
Well, yeah, I mean, technically, I think didn't Jones like mid to early to mid 40s.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Anyways. All right. I will say though, I really, really did love this last shot. It felt very vintage, like George Lucas Star Wars to me.
Yeah.
With Grogu like lifting the frog with the...
And like the Looney Tunes, like that's all, folks. Iris fade out.
I mean, I just love the fact that it feels like a Western. It feels like the gunslinger's kind of hung things up, and he's just kind of hanging out and just kind of appreciating peacetime. Yeah. You know what's really cool about this shot, Jake? You have to remind me because I know this is in the concept, but did you see this did you guys see this in the actual shot? The fact that the ship's kind of parked in back, the N1.
I'd have to go back and check, Dragon.
I gotta be honest. I was noticing it for the first time right now as we're speaking, and I'm seeing the end.
I mean, I'm guessing that it's in the final shot because the concept art is usually pretty one for one.
Well, not always, but you're right. Usually, yes. So
it's always like it's just like that's like his front driveway. He's just sitting on the back porch, just watching his son play in the pond.
I just think it's so darn cute, man. It's so homey. It's the fact that there's the ship that basically it's the 50s car, and there's the boy and his father, and it's a nice little house. Ain't that cute?
Little slice of heaven.
Yeah. It's no Razor Crest, but it'll do.
Well, the Razor Crest probably wouldn't fit on that property as well.
No, I mean, like the property is kind of like symbolic of the Razor Crest. It's like the Razor Crest, you know. It's like,
it is, yeah.
See, that's what I love about the Razor Crest is that look. You see, the N1, as cool as it may be, is where I'm going to talk about the Razor Crest for about 5 hours. Strap in. So no, seriously, I missed that thing. We can't bring it back.
You condense it to like 5 minutes because I have to go to sleep.
Yes. I just love the fact that the Razor Crest was roomy, my friends. You could take a nap on it. It had a bathroom. You know, it had a weapons room. It could freeze people in carbonite. And
you really sound like one of those car salesmen right now.
Yeah. The N1, though, while sporty, it'll get you where you're going, no problem. It'll like that. Evade the New Republic troops on your case. A worry of the past, my friend. I mean, look at the N1 no further. I mean, you can even put a droid in there if you wanted, at your leisure. But there's no Razor Crest. The Razor Crest, a Razor Crest is home, my friends. In this case, it is now the physical property is kind of embodied. It's a narrow little living space. That's just enough for these two.
The Dragon, you sound like either a real estate agent or a car salesman.
Yeah.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like you're doing one of those like product pitches on Christmas in July.
like, look here, we see the Mandalorian's home.
Is it making you nostalgic for the Razor Crest?
Oh God!
I didn't think of the Razor Crest until.
Do they have a Lego version of the Razor Crest?
Yes, we do. Tiki. Well, I don't have one, but there's one out. Yes.
Well, the only way to do it accurate now is to not build it at all.
All right, well, guys, I think that's just about it. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, basically, other than what I said before, it's like I did like this episode, and I do hope we see more and Mando and Grogu, and let's face it, I'm sure we will, whether it be in the 4th season or in the upcoming Mandoverse movie, whatever it may be. But like I said, if this is the last we see of like the like serialized version of Mando, I think it is, at least it's a clunky but satisfying ending.
Right. Okay, so this is going to be it for me on Mando, except, of course, I'll give my last word on the season when we do memoirs at the end of the month. But Jacob and Dragon are going to be joining the one and only Casey of the Prometheus web series and doing a season 3 kind of retrospective, going episode by episode. That's going to be Sunday night, so join us there for that.
Correction, he's joining us, just so you don't get the wrong idea.
What did I say?
He said we were joining him. He's joining us.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's not like you guys are going on to his Prometheus podcast.
Yeah. Be here, folks. Okay.
We're just splitting hairs at this point.
Yeah. No. Dragon has a point.
I know.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us this week as we holster our remotes till the next installment calls for the draw. Mano y mano. Just Plus and us.
Where was Hondo this season?
In the Mandalorian, you have not seen Hondo